Welcome to my presentation. My name is Brian O'Hanlon, and today I will be discussing Israel, but more specifically, Israeli cuisine. So first off, let's see where Israel is situated on the map. As we can see over here, Israel is located on the far east of the Mediterranean Sea. It's technically located in the Middle East, on the north end of Africa over here, and it directly borders Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon. A little history of Israel. The Israeli nation is notorious for political and religious turbulence, none of which we will really be discussing in today's presentation, thankfully. But modern Israel was established in 1949, so not long ago at all. Its culinary history, thankfully, is much brighter and more colorful than its political and religious history, thankfully. And it can be described as like a melting pot of cultures, much like America is, as we know it. So what exactly is Israeli cuisine? Since modern-day Israel is barely 70 years old, there's actually quite a bit of debate about what justifies Israeli cuisine, because there's not a whole lot of groundwork, technically, for Israel, and much of its cuisine is kind of bits and pieces of lots of other cultures. Like I said earlier, it's a lot like America in that sense. So it's kind of like the American cuisine of the Middle East. The land that Israel is inhabited on was inhabited by countless peoples for many millennia. So there's not one specific culture that can be really defined by the land that is known as Israel. So therefore, the two major components that define modern-day Israeli cuisine are the Jewish influence and also the geographic influence. To touch on Jewish influence, Israel is a melting pot of Jewish people. So there have been from Jewish people from about 80 to 100 countries who have recently come back to their homeland of Israel, and with them they have brought many of their traditions and cooking and cultures that they have learned over time. So because of this, many dishes that are considered Israeli stem from recipes that have originated elsewhere. A few examples of this would be Israeli salad, which is just a cucumber and tomato salad. Falafel, both of these originated in the Middle East, and dishes with sour cream were brought by Jewish people from their time in Russia or the surrounding areas. Some geographical influence. Israel lies on the Mediterranean coast and has a dry, warm climate. Some foods that are indigenous to the land are olives and olive oil, wheat, sorghum, chickpeas, figs, dates, pomegranate, barley, and grapes. Many of the foods listed were also referenced in the Bible, which just shows a bit of history of the land that Israel is situated on. To continue geographical influence, other resources, while not all indigenous, thrive in the lush regions of Israel. Fruits like citrus, avocado, kiwi, guava, mangoes, and tomatoes, and vegetables like cucumbers, peppers, eggplants, and squash. And all of this produce is very influential on the Israeli modern-day cuisine as well. Some herbs, spices, and flavorings. Certain flavorings define Israeli cuisine. First is tahini, which is simply a thick paste of sesame seeds. Next is lemon and other acidic flavors like that. Following that is za'atar, which is typically it includes a spice mixture of thyme, oregano, sesame, sumac, and salt, though it can vary depending on who makes it. Next is dill and parsley, followed by cumin, cinnamon, and cardamom. And again, a lot of these flavors are not indigenous to Israel, the land itself. It has been adapted from neighboring regions as well as Jewish people bringing them back to the homeland. Popular proteins in the Israeli diet. The Israeli diet is actually largely plant-based. However, proteins are certainly consumed, those being mostly chicken, eggs, lebana, which is a thick, creamy, and tart cheese, yogurt and yogurt-based dips, whitefish, lamb, liver, and some beef. Moving on to popular Israeli dishes. First, most notably, is hummus, which is extremely popular over in America. It is a spread made from ground chickpeas, tahini, and it can be flavored any kind of way, really. Often with lemon or garlic or something like that. It's served with fresh vegetables and some kind of flatbread, often pita or naan or something like that. Next is falafel, which is a deep-fried ball or patty of ground chickpeas, herbs, and spices, and this can also be served as an accompaniment to a salad or served on a pita, oftentimes with some kind of sauce or some kind of a crisp vegetable as well. Next is shakshuka. And shakshuka is an egg dish that is poached eggs in a thick kind of rustic sauce that is based with tomatoes and peppers. It's usually flavored with garlic and onions and usually cumin and paprika and nutmeg and cayenne. It's another one of those dishes that varies between who makes it, but this is sort of the gist of the basic recipe. Next is Israeli salad. An Israeli salad is just a simple dish containing finely diced tomatoes and cucumbers, which is tossed with oil and an acid, usually like lemon juice. Sometimes other ingredients are added like peppers and onions and herbs and spices. So, is there any kind of influence on America? Absolutely. Israeli cuisine is gaining popularity in America largely because of the plant-based movement. You can see that a lot with some of the quick service restaurants that are popping up, like Zoe's Kitchen or Naf Naf Grill, which are not necessarily centrally surrounded by Israeli cuisine, but sort of the same concept as Israeli, Mediterranean, or Middle Eastern cuisine. There's also plenty of Israeli-themed high dining restaurants in urban areas. Cooking techniques in Israeli cuisine. Variations of grilling are absolutely most prevalent. Skewered meats for kebabs, also primitive methods like cooking protein directly on charcoal. But generally speaking, grilling is the way to go when it comes to cooking Israeli foods. Another popular technique is marinating vegetables rather than cooking them. This can be seen with Israeli salad. Also boiling and sauteing grains, since grains and pastas like couscous and any kind of vegetable are so big in Israeli cooking. Sauteing and boiling are also quite prevalent. And surprisingly, deep frying is not often used, even though falafel is one of the most notable Israeli dishes. It's pretty much only used for falafel. Usually the cooking methods are very light. Neighboring countries' influence on Israeli cooking. As we discussed earlier, Israeli cuisine would be literally nothing without its neighboring countries. It gets pretty much everything from either the Mediterranean, the Middle East, or from North Africa. Like I said, Israel is a culinary melting pot. Agriculture in Israel. Historically, it's difficult to keep tabs on the agricultural background of present-day Israel as far as industry is concerned. Um, like I said, there have been biblical references on what Israel was back then, and their agriculture of barley and fish and wheat and things like that. But as far as today is concerned, um, modern day Israel is actually quite agriculturally diverse. And this is kind of funny considering that more than half of Israel is a desert land. But Israel produces a variety of crops. It produces livestock, specifically milk for cheese and yogurts. And it does have a commercial fishing industry. However, it has declined due to overfishing of the Mediterranean in recent years. The modern culinary scene, Israel cuisine is celebrated for its light flavors and bright colors. Many chefs and home cooks are adapting techniques and flavors influenced by Israel. Locally in Philadelphia, chef Michael Solomonov of Zahav Restaurant has sparked interest with the publication of his Israeli cookbook, which is titled Zahav. And for my menu, I took a menu from Zahav. And as you can see on this menu, it really shows some unique interpretations of Israeli cooking and some of the flavors that are often used in traditional Israeli cuisine mixed with sort of American flavors as well. All right, thanks so much for watching. Here are my sources. Thanks.